Thanks for joining us today on Inside Communications.
Oh, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
So what have we seen in the last 10 years or so in terms of buying power for gay men and lesbians?
Well, I think we've just kind of quantified it more than we probably have in the past, and it's pretty significant. We see that it's not so much that there's higher incomes. It's still a world kind of dominated by straight white guys, really. They do make the most. But when we think of buying power in terms of consumer segments, there's just more disposable income in this group. And it's probably, it has a lot to do with the fact that there aren't many children in households of gays and lesbians. So while that's changing, and we certainly see a little bit of a gay boom going on, if you will, we're seeing by and large you're not really paying for braces or funding a college tuition or paying for extracurricular activities after school. Things like that leave a little more money in your pocket. So you can be a little bit more selfish with your money and your time. And that's just been quantified a bit more. And we're seeing that it's generally higher than we see in the Hispanic market, African American market, Asian American market. And those are all fantastic places to be investing in your business. But with more spending power here, it's really attracting a lot of brands.
And how are brands reaching out to this demographic now? Is it through traditional means, social media? They're going different ways. What's the best way to reach this market right now?
I think actually there's not enough brands in the market, but the ones that are seem to be doing a good job. I mean, I think the move overall for any kind of marketing or segment marketing is really to have a kind of an integrated 360-degree approach, multi-touch point, and they are doing that. So we're seeing that there might be print campaigns, but that's complicated, rather complemented perhaps by a digital campaign, social media, a lot of events, and some public relations. So whatever the lever might be that they're pulling in terms of a tactical engagement is generally a mix of those.
So let's go inside one of these brands. Who is doing a good job of pulling that lever, of really reaching out to this market?
There are some great brands. I think our clients are doing a great job. We work with KY Brand and Tylenol PM, Rogaine, a lot of consumer packaged goods. But we're also seeing some really terrific work from the insurance industry. Progressive Insurance, I think, is doing a fantastic job. Wells Fargo has, from the financial services viewpoint, done an outstanding job, and that's been, I think, going on close to 20 years. So they're really a standout brand. Even locally here in New York, Manhattan Mini Storage, a great job with the gay and lesbian market.
Now, when you talk about Wells Fargo, they're doing a great job. Do they know that marketplace? Because you mentioned earlier, not as many kids, disposable income. The buying patterns are a little bit different. So are they targeting what they're promoting to this market in a different way than they would to, say, a straight market?
Yeah, I think that's always the key. When you're marketing any brand or a service or a product, how is it relevant to that consumer, and are you serving it in a way that's kind of maybe culturally resonant? So I think for financial services industry, there's going to be unique needs for every customer, whether they're a single parent, a household of 5 kids, gay and lesbian couple, a single person. But they do know that the gay and lesbian community is by and large very important to them. There is this higher income, as you were talking about, or rather I should say higher disposable income. So they are serving up things of like, okay, we know you're gay and lesbian, maybe they don't recognize marriage in the state you live in. We can create some special financial packages that kind of protect you. And similarly, just a welcoming attitude. It's a little awkward sometimes in some places in this country to open up a checking account or a mortgage for 2 women, let's say. So knowing that this is a friendly place where you can come, and that's part of their communication points, and we see other competitors doing the same thing, that's very important. And it's a way to make it relevant to those consumers.
And you mentioned Manhattan Mini Storage. What's the interplay there? Why are they doing such a good job?
Well, they've actually had a long tradition of some kind of snarky, humorous advertising.
I think anyone in New York that rides the subway certainly sees that, aimed at straight and at the gay and lesbian community
absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't not chuckle when you see the ads. I think one of the reasons why they've probably included kind of a gay and lesbian slice in their marketing over the years is like, look, Manhattan has a disproportionate number, I should say the New York City area in general, of gay men and lesbians. And if you are a New Yorker, your apartments are small and you need storage. One thing that I thought was very fun that Manhattan Mini Storage did is right after New York passed marriage equality this July, almost overnight, billboards went up around the city that said, if you don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married. And it kind of fit with their snarky personality, and I was very pleased to see kind of a bold statement like that.
You mentioned apartments. Apartment plays a story in your story of how you started everything, that you really went to town with a Rolodex and with your computer, and you really cultivated a lot of relationships working out of your apartment and building this base there. Tell us a little bit about how you started the firm.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it'll be 10 years ago this January. So it was at a time when people, I think, were familiar with the gay and lesbian market from maybe an academic standpoint, but really very few people were involved in it. It was, I think, mostly gay and lesbian businesses that were involved with the gay and lesbian market. And looking back, I'm kind of thinking, wow, we were pretty lucky we stayed in that market because it was a tough time. There weren't that many brands interested. Fast forward 10 years, and it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, I think there's probably not many major companies out there that don't recognize the power of this market. Whether or not they've done anything yet is another question, but it was kind of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but honestly, it was a labor of love and passion, and I think it just quickly emerged into a pretty thriving business, and we're really pleased. We've been growing every year, and it's been a great journey.
So you're growing every year, and the journey continues. We mentioned we're tracing what's been happening over the last 10 years. What do you see moving forward? Is this something that you could project out 10 years, or is it literally year by year you're just seeing incremental changes, incremental growth?
I mean, I think it should be, accepted knowledge by now that this is a great market for you to be involved in. I mean, we know that to be true for the Hispanic market, African American market, a lot of really powerful segment markets out there, and this clearly is one of them, and it's established. What I think will happen, if we're kind of projecting like what's on the horizon, if you will, I mean, years ago it might have been that you'd run one of your general market ads in a gay or lesbian magazine, and that was kind of forward thinking for the time. And then the better marketers got around to saying, well, let's tailor our communications, let's make them, gay specific or lesbian specific or something that might be more resonant with this community. Let them know we're speaking directly to them. And that's kind of happening today. What's starting to emerge now, though, is really taking it to the next level. And let's saying, let's have greater visibility and inclusion in general market media. And it's a little bit like kind of putting the money where your mouth is. If you're going to go very boldly out there with creative or a public relations campaign that shows some sort of acknowledgement of support for your gay and lesbian customers, outside of gay media where it might otherwise be unseen, is a pretty bold step. I think in 5 to 10 years it might not be so bold anymore, but right now there's a few companies doing it, and those that do are generating a tremendous response from the community because gay men and lesbians aren't used to seeing themselves represented in the media. And so when they see a brand taking that bold step and saying, we're talking directly to you and the world can see this, it really makes an impact.
And how much of an impact does, say, TV shows, Modern Family, super successful, super popular sitcom with gay characters, and being gay is part of the character, but they don't really hammer it home, bang it over your head. How's that changing in terms of acceptability and things like that, actually seeing portrayals in sitcoms and in dramas?
I think in terms of media and entertainment, it's really paralleling also what's happening in marketing and business and society as a whole. If you think about it, let's go back 10 years. We had Will and Grace, which is kind of very groundbreaking, and I think that kind of media attention really did change things in this country. Graduate a few years, you had Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which at the time was rather shocking, and then 2 years later seemed to be just kind of fun. Fast forward today, like you said, we have Modern Family, and again, it's starting to become less and less of a big gay thing, if you will, and more of just a mainstreaming and inclusion, just greater diversity. I think that's honestly what's happening there, and kind of treating it as just like, look, this fabric that is America is made up of a lot of different pieces.
Do you think that we should focus on those aspects of shows when there are gay characters? Do you think that that's something the media should focus on, or would you rather see a point where we don't even really focus on that? We don't focus on the fact that that there are black police officers on an NYPD and a Law and Order episode, or gay characters on certain other shows. Do you want the media not to focus on that?
I wouldn't put it that way. I would say there's a first for anything and everything. Like you were saying, the first time maybe an African American was profiled in a pretty prominent position in a TV show. That was groundbreaking at that time and probably deserved a lot of attention and accolades. The same is true with, I think, gay and lesbian visibility in the media. When it starts to happen in the early stages, it does deserve some recognition and attention. I think whether you're a TV show producer or a marketer or a public relations executive, if you're putting that out there very visible and for everyone to see, I think that does deserve recognition. But I would say we're moving to a time where it's just going to kind of become a non-issue, and it should. And almost like you're saying with Modern Family, that gay couple on that show, which is just so popular, they're just mixed in with all these other incredibly popular characters. It's not like it centers around them or it's solely around them, where on Will and Grace, the gay factor was really amped up. Modern Family, you're starting to see it's just more like just part of everyone.
Yeah, and on Will and Grace and some of the other shows, it defined what the show was about, really stapled that as the show. And as you mentioned, Modern Family has all the different types of all the demographics that are reaching there. What other trends in the media are you seeing in terms of gay people being profiled, gay people being put out in front of the media? Will we see a day when there are gay and lesbian spokespeople for products that aren't necessarily geared towards gay and lesbian?
We already have, actually. I mean, Ellen DeGeneres, who's out as a queen of daytime TV, right? She was a spokesperson for CoverGirl Cosmetics for a while. I think maybe just only a year and a half, 2 years ago, and that's a sea change. I mean, we had a period in the '90s when she had a popular sitcom on TV that she used as a platform, very publicly and visibly, to come out. And it might have been too soon for America. She definitely got some kind of backlash for that and went away for a while. But look how time has changed. She's emerged. She's just kind of a beloved, jewel of daytime television, and everyone loves her. Here you have, who would ever thought an out lesbian would be the spokesperson for a cosmetics company? And I think that just shows like there are some stereotypes and myths to be debunked, and that we are seeing exactly what you talked about, of that, no big deal.
Thanks for going inside communications with us.
My pleasure.